Welcome back to another episode of the Dat Fitness Business Podcast. Tom Blackman with Dan Smith, and this is episode 11. And today we're talking about launching a group program for online personal training. How are you, Dan?
Very well, very good.
I see the growth of the moustache is becoming rather an art form now.
Yeah, although I'm due a trip to the barbers and I'm going to get this side sorted out because it's like thicker than this side. It feels heavier as well, so I feel like I'm like that. My head is like this all the time.
Yeah, and you might get struck by lightning on one side of your face.
Maybe. But yeah,
so go on.
I say it's going well. It's going good.
It's going well, yeah. It looks good.
We're
not even in November yet, so a long time to go.
Yeah.
So group coaching. We've covered in a previous podcast, I'm not sure which one it was, maybe 6 or 5 maybe, and we talked about the group versus one-to-one coaching. So today, and when we did that, there was a lot to cover, wasn't it? So today we're going to delve into more what's involved in launching a group program, both what you do before, maybe what you're doing during, and potentially what you're doing afterwards, so that you can then make it better. Because I think a lot of people, when you see people doing group stuff, we did cover this before, they sort of say, "Oh, I'm doing a group program," and that's about it. It's sort of like it's ready to go, and then they don't sell a lot, and then people are like, "Oh, why did that happen?"
Yeah, there has to be a specific focus, doesn't there, around it? Like, if it's a group program, first of all, like, who's it? You know, all the classic questions like who's it for, what problems it's solving, all that stuff that you should know anyway before you even put it out there. But then also, how's it going to work? Because like we spoke about before, it can't just be your one-to-one coaching packaged up as a group program. It defeats the object of it, right? And I mean, I've launched various group programs over the years, some successful, like some like really not successful, and even to the point where I think I can't remember which one it was. I did one, it might have been a nutrition and coaching one, and I think we had like 4 or 5 people sign up for it, and I just reached out to them and said that we're not going to do this as a group program. I'll happily coach you one-to-one, and this is the setup. And I think I even maybe like discounted the rate that I did it at, and that worked well, but it wasn't the outcome that we wanted. So but it's just to make people aware that there should be a difference between the two. Really.
Yeah, and also when you think about group programs, a lot of the time people are thinking about like massive intakes, aren't they? And obviously those things do happen. You know, you get massive intakes of 100, 200 people at a time. But a group program doesn't have to be a massive intake of 100, 200 people, because that in itself presents a lot of issues in terms of managing. And some people do that very well. Some people, don't do that very well. In terms of group programming, we're talking, I suppose, anything over 3 people at a time. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. And I think over the years, I've got into that mindset of, I think the best number we had was around that 15 to 20 mark from a group program, because you had everyone in there who was engaging, everyone wanted to get involved, and it wasn't too many people to manage. And you could actually, even though it's a group program, you could still make sure that everyone was okay. You could still interact with everyone on that program. It wasn't too much effort or work involved. Whereas if you had, like you say, hundreds, it's like, okay, you unless you've got some people working with you, you can't do that.
Yeah, I always with those massive intake programs, and let's say I'm not criticizing anybody who does them, because everyone's got their own business model. I've always wondered how you encourage that group mentality with more than 15 to 20 people. And the reason, like you said, the reason is because you want to get people engaging in the group. It's group coaching, isn't it? So you want to get people who are posting in the group, engaging in the group. Now, let's say you did have, say, 100 people who are all posting in that group. That's a lot of posts, isn't it? That's a lot of engagement and interaction you've got to go through. And I wonder just how much you can actually coach people in that group. If, say, all 100 people ask the same, different questions, as a coach, you've then got to go through those questions and then answer them all. and potentially made a rod for your own back.
Yeah, because you go the other way then, don't you? Because of the nature of that program is very much, well, it's a group, and whilst you're delivering maybe training programs, coaching to them in some format or another, if they're not getting their questions answered, all of a sudden then you've got a recipe for, well, this isn't very good, like bad reviews, negative feedback, all that stuff comes from that. So it can have the opposite effect. One thing I was just thinking of then is this thought that group programs should, in some format or another, be less from a cost perspective than one-to-one coaching. And that, and it's only over the last few years I've started to change my mindset on that, because what you should be delivering on is an outcome. So that outcome is what the price is decided on, right? So whether you do that in a group program or one-to-one doesn't matter, as long as it's communicated and the right people are brought into that for that reason. Then you know, people, I think, in the, especially coaching in the fitness space, think, oh, I've got my one-to-one, which is here, and then my group program sits underneath because it's not, you know, it's not quite as involved. But it doesn't, I don't think it has to be like that. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, and I think we did touch on this on the group versus one-to-one, didn't we? Yeah. So a real world example from my experience, I did the Dent KPI program, which was an excellent program. It's how I wrote my book. It's how I made a lot of contacts in certain industries, and it was a really good program. And the speakers they got to come to deliver the days, you know, really top quality people, you know, and I learned a lot on that program. I met a lot of great people as well. That was a group-based program. Every month we all went to London, all met up in this massive conference place. I think there was about 60, I want to say 67 people. There was a certain number they had because it was like everyone was in their own little accountability group within the big group. And there was a group day where we all discussed certain theories and did, you know, role plays and action things and all that sort of stuff. And then you went home, did the homework in the group portal, worked on your business, and then come back the next month. And that was, it was about a 10-month program, I think. Now that was about, I think it was about £7,000 when I did it. And that was 5 years ago. So I'm presuming it's gone up since then. Now, if you break that down over the year, that's about, is it 550 quid per month?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and obviously in mentoring, one-to-one mentoring, I've worked with people who've charged me for mentoring about £400 to £500 a month. So there's an equal cost there. But what the benefits I got from the one-to-one and the benefits I got from the group program, as in the Dent program, they all had really good, improved my business massively, but they were essentially the same price. And that's just something to think about, isn't it? It doesn't have to be cheaper.
No, that's it, isn't it? It's what it's going to deliver to you at that point, what's right for where your business is or what you want out of it, or your health, or your nutrition or training, as long as it's right for you. And I think there's pros and cons to both, like that, as in anything, and you just got to weigh it up because, like you said, there's loads of benefit from having a collective group of people discussing ideas and listening to people and getting feedback from others who are doing similar things to you. I think there's massive benefit to that. But then there's also the negative impact to that. Some people might not want to be in that situation and they don't feel comfortable there as well, because I'm definitely one of those people. I've been in multiple groups before where if you throw me in a Facebook group, I'm not going to interact. I'm just not that kind of person. I'm genuinely not.
Yeah.
I've worked with coaches who are the same. They just like, no, I'm not interested in that. I want this help here. This is what I want to do. Cool. And then we've tried loads of different things to get people engaging. And we come to the conclusion is like, some people just aren't going to do it. And that's fine. Like we expect these people to just jump in a group and be like, hey guys, like, not everyone's like that, because I'm definitely not.
No, and I'm sort of similar with that, because with the I like you, I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups, and there's some of this. I'm in the one paid Facebook group for coaching, and I rarely post in that group. I get a lot of value from the stuff that the people who run it post in there. You know, they post, I think it's like a weekly post about certain business ideas and stuff like that, and I read them and go, yeah, that's really interesting. You know, I might put a like or whatever, but, you know, when people are posting, oh, what's your goals for this week? Well, for me, putting it in a group isn't a productive use of my time because I've got my goals written down. So I know exactly what I'm going to do that week. So I don't need to spend 20 minutes writing my goals out on a Facebook group. But some people do get really good value from doing that because then, like you said, you can repin that post on Friday if you put it on Monday and say, how did you get on with your goals? But then that might backfire because people haven't done anything or like done nothing.
We used to do that. Then we used to do that in one of them groups, and I do that and tried so many ways of just trying to get. But ultimately, it works for some people. But then I'm the same as you. Like I've been in groups before where I've been paying, and they've gone like, well, "This is," and they'll follow up and go, comment saying, "Oh, is everything all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is," but I'm not gonna. You know, you don't have to do it in a public place where everyone's like, everyone can see everything. Not because there's anything wrong with that, but I'm like, well, I'm working on this stuff. And if I need the support and help, then I'll come to you and ask. But I don't need to publicly declare it on there. It's the same with like the wins and things. I found that was kind of a contentious point with some of those groups. People would be like throwing in these things, going, "Look at this! Basically, look how big my piece is," and they're like throwing it over their shoulder. And then, great, well done, brilliant stuff. But then we had multiple coaches contacting us privately saying that they felt really. They just didn't like it because it made them feel like they weren't doing as good or they weren't in that position. So I think there is
that, I think, and because in some groups, especially business coaching groups, and I'm in a coaching group where they've got, it's not just fitness coaches, it's coaches from all over every industry, and you got some people in there who are working in really high profit and high cost, like things like mortgage advisors. People who are are doing like hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of business, a week or whatever, a month. And obviously you've got like some industries which are, there's not many people who earn hundreds of thousands of pounds a week in the fitness business, is there? So there are, but
apparently there are.
Apparently there is. But yeah, so like you said, if you got saying, "Oh, how's business been this week?" and you got some guy who sold like 3 apartments in Beverly Hills, and it's like, "Yeah, I've pulled in £2 million this week," and you're like, I just probably won't post what I've done this week. Yeah, I've onboarded 3 clients.
Yeah, I think, but again, like some people do like that, but then the comparison is not right there, is it? Because you're comparing a completely different industry. So yeah, I get that. But
so I think we went a bit off tangent there.
Yeah,
still on point, but
we're supposed to talk about how it actually works.
Yeah, so yeah, how we're actually going to do it. So the major problem people face coaches face when they are doing group coaching is that for most people, when they do a group coaching, they've got like a start point. So it's like, like for a lot of people, including my own coaching program, 9th of January, today, when we're filming this, is the first Monday of January, isn't it? So this is when a lot of diet programs are starting, like today.
Yeah.
So when you've got that, people have got to be in by that time, it becomes a very nervous thing where you've then got to make sure you've got people buying by that point. Whereas in one-to-one coaching, it's like generally people can join any time, can't they? So there's not that pressure of getting people, funneled towards that one date.
Mm.
So there's the thing, isn't it? The first thing is, if you haven't got the sales by the day it starts, well, then that's the measure of success, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that comes down to a lot of the planning side of it before, because there's a lot more planning involved in a group program launch compared to a one-to-one. Because like you say, anyone can enter. So for me, it's having enough of a period of time to seed that group program and make sure that people are aware that it's coming. And it doesn't have to be like weeks and weeks and weeks, but we like to have about a 3-week period where we're starting to seed stuff that's coming in. And then you have that pre-launch phase. But I mean, during that seeding and even into the pre-launch, I would have people being who are interested, taking their details in some form, probably an email is probably the easiest way, and then putting them into a separate list so that that these are the people who are the more hot, warmer, interested leads for that group program. So that's how I would then start to then build up the process so that I know that when I do launch it, hopefully these people here who said they're interested are the ones who are going to then jump on. It also gives you an idea, doesn't it, of how many people potentially are going to be in that program as well.
Yeah, it's a good book on this is Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley. He talks a lot about this seeding and creating interest and creating that excitement. And there's a lot of companies that do this, like Apple do this really well, don't they, in terms of launching their new iPhone, and then the queues of people coming out the door, whatever. And then I think you're right in terms of it's really important to have, like, I'm doing this thing. So let's say 4 weeks before the launch, oh, by the way, this thing is going to launch at this time. And then you can, at that point, you can say, would you like more details? Just send me a message or whatever. And you can then, like you said, put them into an email list. It's like a pre-launch email list or early bird or whatever it is. And then you can keep having that early bird launch up until that list, all the way up until, say, a week before, when you like open your cart or whatever it's for payment. And that way you can keep, once you started saying this thing is going to happen, and then once you said it's going to happen, you've then got to seed content through the next couple of weeks, which is saying this thing is starting. Because a lot of people have this sort of cognitive dissonance with social media, don't they? It's like scroll, and they might see something about it, but probably won't. And they've got to see it like 6 or 7 times, haven't they?
Yeah, that's a big thing I've noticed with social media, changes in social media compared to where it was, where you could probably get away. I mean, you could get away with it, like posting up on social media, people would see it and go, oh, I'm going to do that. Now it's just so much content on there, and it's only going to increase. So what you're competing against is all the volume of content that's on there anyway, people's attention, which is like a 3-second goldfish. So you're trying to compete and catch someone's attention. So a better way of doing it would be to have a structure and a strategy around how you're going to launch this thing, but then get that person's information and their eyes away from social media into your email list, so you can then email them before it starts and tell them about it, tell them what's going to happen, how you can build up a bit of excitement and scarcity and all that stuff, which is way easier. And I think a lot of coaches who don't have that email set up will be left behind in 2023, because social media is it's an absolute beast at the moment and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. When I used to do Target Lean, that program, we used to seed it about 3 or 4 weeks before and say about, would you like some more information? And then we get them on the pre-launch email list. And then I would email out every week specifically to that list, and that would grow as people joined it, saying, oh, this is what's happening, this is what Target Lean's about, and it was basically just more information. And you would probably put that on we did put that on social media as well, but it was because it was an email, people, again, they're more likely to read it because they've signed up to that. And what we found was doing that was actually we sold more of the emails. We sold more on the email list than we did from, say, look, we hardly ever had people like buying directly from a link on social media. There was a couple, but most of it came from the email list. And certainly that's something I've carried forward into build business, is that that you make more sales from the email list than you would from, say, here's a post on social media. Yeah,
because that social media audience, your audience is, I don't know, it's like 1%, 2% maybe, that I see in your posts. So when I've worked with coaches in the past and they've gone to do something like this, and I'm on social media a lot, right? Compared to the normal person, I'm on there quite a lot.
Yeah.
And if I haven't seen it, then you can definitely guarantee your audience haven't seen it, because I'm like, well, I didn't know this was happening. I've been posting about it. Like, well, no. But you think about it now, it's like it's got to be consistent and everywhere. So if it is social media, like, are the posts relevant and frequent enough to be out there to tell people about, but then also move them to email? But then are you then repurposing that into stories, and are you telling people there to capture the people who are a little bit more engaged because they're watching your stories? But then, like you said, email is way more effective at actually converting people, and like the percentage is probably 3 times more, I think, in terms of email.
Yeah, it's like 10 to 12%. Yeah, compared to, like, say 1% maybe. I mean, that's a good report, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also depends on what your open rate is on email, doesn't it? Because a lot of people have massive email lists and like 1% open rate, which is not great. And I suppose all this comes back. I mean, this is a bit of a tangent, but learning copywriting, I think, is something that so many coaches just don't do. They don't know how to get their ideas onto virtual paper to then talk to their perfect customer.
It's a big part, though, I feel. I mean, I know that I know you do this anyway because I read your posts, but having to go through that process of learning how to write, kind of compares, compare the old first post to what they're like currently, and that's just practice, isn't it? It's just time spent doing it, looking at stuff, learning, taking some ideas and tweaking it to yourself. But now it is in that world of like video is so popular, so we don't have to worry about the copy, but then it's the copy that's still going to move someone to actually buy this thing most of the time.
Yeah, because the 7-11-4 side of things, I mean, okay, you could watch 7 hours of video, but also they could read 7 hours of your writing, and people do, reading is like you said, people think about video is like, but actually people who spend time actually reading your stuff are probably going to be more inclined to buy than say someone watching your video.
Yeah,
because they then be able to process the words and process the content in their brain and make people buy with their heart, don't they? But they justify it with their brain, their logic. Yeah. You've got to have both sides of those things.
Yeah, copies are one of the big things. I'm glad that I spent more time doing it and learning and doing courses on it. But then if I don't do it for a while, I definitely noticed it's like a skill, isn't it? So you get rusty at it. So you have to pick it back up. So I've started now. Again, this is a massive tangent, but I've downloaded an app that I'm testing out new content styles, and I'm just writing thoughts and sentences and phrases that come into my head, and I'm going to turn them into content. But it just gets me writing again because I stopped writing. Just type stuff.
Yeah. What you mean, actual physically writing or writing?
Actually writing, but I am using this, so it's not quite a pen, but yeah.
I use an Apple Pen as well for my stuff. Anyway, if people do want to know about copywriting books, there's two that I found really useful, and that is How to Write a Good Advertisement by Victor Schwab. That's a 1945 book that's still relevant today. And How to Write Copy That Sells by Ray Edwards.
Right. I was just looking at mine here. I've got oversubscribed here.
Yeah. Have you got my book on the
your book here? I think it's behind me. It's down there. Actually, down on the bottom shelf down there.
On the bottom shelf.
But this book, I was going to show you this one actually. Launch by Jeff Walker, which is a quality book for anyone who wants to launch a product. It's really good.
I've not read that one. I will put that on my list. Yeah, so a couple of books to think about. Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley, that's really good. Launch, what you said, and then the other two I just mentioned for copywriting. So we what we've done, we've started off at the week one by seeding the idea that we're going to do this. Now, what content should we put? Say let's say week 1, 2, 3, because week 4 is going to be our selling week, and then at the end of week 4, that's when the program starts. So in week 1 to 3, what content should we put in? If we go back and forth, you give me one, I'll do one.
So for me, I would have something to say that something's coming, so to create a little bit of curiosity, but at least something hinting at something. That's one.
Yeah. The in the seeding content for the next weeks, absolutely testimonial stories.
Yeah. I would also have in there stuff that is going to bring about an awareness to like the problems. So solving those problems, but those problems that are going to be solved by the product or the service that you're going to be launching. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So also how the product is delivered.
Yeah.
Because especially, I don't know how you deliver yours, but mine is through a Facebook group. So if someone hasn't got Facebook, generally it's a no for working in a group setting.
Yeah. I'd also potentially you can get their help to build it. So at this point you can be getting feedback and surveying and doing like research, even if it's just some polls on Instagram, because then you're getting them involved. Plus you're also saying, I'm going to be creating this thing, but I want your help to build it. And that's a really powerful way of getting someone involved. Because when you actually release it, you can say, you guys told me that you wanted me to do this, this and this, and I've created it. So that's
I did that with Build and with Target Lean as well. When we had the emails, like the preceding, I sent them all an email saying, this is the program we're doing. This is the result we want to get. What do you need? What help do you need from me to get that to get that result? Why haven't you got it at the moment? What help do you need from me? And we had a load of good responses.
It's such a great way of getting people to buy in, because they've, what better way than getting them involved in building it? But I think another one on there is like some of the objections that will come up. I'll be handling them, probably more so as you get closer towards maybe them buying it, but you can still have a few things in there.
Yeah. So essentially what we're talking about is a landing page which is populated on social media over 3 weeks.
Yeah. Great way of thinking about it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 10p every time you use it in your coaching group. Tom's landing page, social media. And then if you think about all that, when you're building your landing page, all the stuff you've seeded in 3 weeks should go on that landing page. Because when you're sending people, when they want to buy to that landing page, they'll see stuff they've already seen on what you said beforehand. And that familiarity with your content and what your message is actually reinforces that you're the right person to buy from. So imagine this: if you had like 3 weeks of, we're going to do a muscle building, fat loss program, and you get to the landing page and it's all about fat loss with no muscle building, there would be a disconnect there.
Yeah. Just you could use like exact words, exact phrases, everything.
Yeah, that's
what people look out for, isn't it?
Yeah, it's stuff they've already seen, and it's like, oh yeah, I saw that thing. Yeah, so that makes sense, and there's more buy-in. So I think if people do think about, we're launching this product, and then 3 weeks, and all that content goes into the landing page. When you come to the sell week, you've got all the stuff there, and you don't have to think about new stuff to put in your landing page then as well.
I also, I've one point that I try to get out there, and we've done this a few times, is trying to look at what people are doing now and do the opposite, because I don't want it to look the same as everything else, and I want it to stand out. Like we got our whole brand freaking developed and whatever, type, fonts, colors, the whole thing. But when we launched something else, it was completely different. And we've got a designer to knock up these like funky, like short videos with all these effects in them, which I'd never seen before. And I just thought it was cool. And I'll pull those ideas from different industries. So in the music industry and stuff, and I'm like, I'm always saving stuff. I'll use that next time, and I'll take that idea. I think, get inspiration from other places to launch your products.
Yeah, because the worst thing you can do is, how everyone's using that. There's an app called Captions, isn't there? That everybody is using now for their social media. And if you've seen one person with bouncy text flashing up and like emojis flashing all over the place, you've seen everybody else doing it as well. And it just doesn't stand you out from the crowd, does it?
I got an email. I think I must have had about 2 or 3 of these emails, and it was make content like Alex Hormozy, or make reels like that. And I was like, no, why would I want to make content like? I don't get it. And everyone's like, oh, how'd you do it? I'm like, do something different.
Why would you want to do someone else's content? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Have you read his book, Alex Hormozy?
The 100 million offers one.
Yeah, $1 million offers. Yeah. It's relevant to me because it talks about gym industry, and there's some really good ideas in there. If you own a gym.
Yeah, from that point, I thought, it was more a case of someone was using it as a way to sell their thing, and I was like, well, I don't want my content. I'd rather just find something that's different. And make it different on purpose.
Because otherwise, I mean, let's be honest. We're talking about, we're talking about like fat loss coaches, because most of us, both of us coach people who, work in the fat loss, muscle building type industry. Most of those offerings are pretty similar, aren't they? Let's build some muscle, let's lose some body fat, let's triple your confidence. But I don't know what tripling your confidence actually does or means. And what? Sorry,
an exit.
Yeah. Exactly. So all those offerings are pretty similar. So if you're doing the same sort of content and the same captions and the same video content and styles as everybody else, how are you standing out from those people? It's not, are you? So you aren't going to be remembered for what you're offering, even if it might be the best offer in the world.
Yeah. I know every time we've got proof to back this up, because every time we've done it with a coach where we've done something different, got them personality involved and their sense of humor, or something that makes them specific to them, it works so well. And if it's just the same thing that everyone else is doing, it's never the same.
Yeah, because people buy people, don't they? Not coaches.
Yeah. But yeah, that's probably all I'd get in there. I don't think there's anything else I'd add in that part.
No. So okay, so now we've done our 3 weeks seeding, and now we're into launch week, or it's car open week, isn't it? Buy week, sales week, whatever you want to call it. What would be your advice for that week, where you've got, let's say, 5 to 7 days to get people to actually buy? What would be your top tips for that?
So we have, I mean, I don't know if you include this in that seeding phase. We'd have a little pre-launch phase. I'd have that like a week before, where I'm starting to really kind of drive up, probably more so the social proof side of things. So that side of things, and just depending on the product or whatever it is, maybe looking at paid traffic, depending on what it is, because it depends on the offer and what you're putting across there. But if we've done a challenge or a group program in the past, we've been able to drive traffic towards a wait list, which has worked out all right. But then in that next part, where you're going the pre-launch phase, which we like to do a week before the cart opens, we're potentially sending a little bit more towards that wait list to let them know what's happening, delivering information about the product, and then when they can take action. Also sort of ramping up the scarcity side of things and just making sure they know that there's only this amount of time or space is available. So that side of it. But then when it actually goes out there, so the best way I've found is to have a dedicated page for it. So to have a sales page, because if you can get all that information onto a page, then you can just repurpose that in different platforms at different places. So having a page that is, so it doesn't have to be like a mammoth, depending on the product, I suppose. You know, the sales pages that are super in depth, which I think are valid if the product is needed for that side of a sales page. But something where you can have everything on it that you just talked about, so all those bits we mentioned, in a place where you can then go through and it will handle the objections, deliver the information, where they can actually like take action. So that would be one thing anyway. What do you think?
Yeah, I think and the first thing about that is that if you're gonna close the cart on, say, Friday at 5 p.m, make sure you do close it at Friday at 5 p.m. Don't get to Friday at 4:59 and think, oh, I've only had 4 people join. Maybe I should extend it till Saturday at 5 p.m. and then you send an email out to everybody saying, oh, I've just extended it because there was so much interest.
You're not sending one out going, oh, wrong link.
Wrong link. Oh, I sent you the wrong link. Sorry, here's the link to buy. And it's like, that's the same link as last time. or you send an email saying, oh, sorry, I forgot to send you the link in the previous email, but you did send that email link. Yeah. Or you could do the have you been abducted by aliens email. I sent you an email about my program and you didn't buy, so obviously you've been abducted by aliens. But honestly, if they had, how would they get that email? I don't know.
For me, I think the overarching thing there is like do what you say you're going to do, like be authentic.
Exactly. If you've got 10 places and 10 places are sold, great. Publicize that you sold out and that there's no more spaces and people have to wait till next time. If you're going to close it at 5 p.m. on a Friday, close it at 5 p.m. on a Friday, and that's it. And that one, I think you've got to be really, so those 2 points, you've got to be really careful to stick to, because if people do know that you're not going to close the cart or you're going to keep it open, or people do know that you're going to take on more people than what you said, that will then backfire on you in the future. We've
had a similar group program where we launched it and we opened the waitlist spaces like 24 hours before it went out to everyone else. So then we know that, okay, we had 20 spaces and we sold, say, 15. Then we could go out in that next week and say, it's a genuine thing then. Oh, we sold 15 spaces, we've got 5 left. And you can use that to your advantage to then go, cool, we've only got 6 days until we start. There's 5 spaces. And then you can use that for your content in that week where you're going quite hard with the offer and putting it out there. But like you said, don't just be false with it. But we've had on our final day of one of the group programs we launched, I sent multiple emails on one day, and I know some people don't like that, but at the time it worked really well. And you'd be surprised that we had people contact us after they'd got sent multiple emails on the final day, the next day saying, is there still space? Because that's how people are. They don't take action until it's too late.
No, and also people don't tend to read their emails the day that you send them as well.
Yeah.
I've noticed this a lot with my my stuff, is that, like you said, you'll send the email out on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, you'll get people going, yeah, is it still open?
Yeah.
And you can go, nah, it's not me. Sorry, you have to wait until next time. But yeah, it's yeah, I think you've got to stick to what you said you were going to do. And the multiple emails thing, you know, I know a lot of people say they don't like it, that sort of thing. Personally, I've been on the receiving end of that sort of stuff, and if it's something I'm completely not interested in, I generally tend to unsubscribe. So that's fine, because, you know, it's good for the person selling it, because I'm not interested in what they've got to say, sell. But also, if people are interested, and you just got to, like when your missus says to you, "Can you take the rubbish out?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'll do it later." You know, after the third time, "Can you take the rubbish out?" I was like, "Oh, you know what? Fuck's sake, I can't do it. I'm gonna go and take the rubbish out." You know, and you go and do it. But if she just asked you that once, you'd wait till next week, wouldn't you? Or the next day to do it. So yeah, if someone is generally interested in joining your program, they potentially need those extra jolts to get them to take action. So I think that's a decent thing, as long as you aren't too spammy with it. And I think I mean, I don't know what you think about this, but when people send emails which are overtly sales, and that's a difficult one to clarify, because you're obviously selling something, but it's when people are like pretending to do false scarcity. Like it's a digital product, so there's only a limited amount left. No, there isn't, because it's a digital product, but you can have where the price is going up at this time, or we're only going to sell it until this day, whatever.
Yeah. Or, like the bonuses or whatever, I don't know, like it's only involved till this time and things like that. But
yeah,
I get that. And also, if it's done in that way, that is in keeping with how you would write your emails anyway, it doesn't just turn into like a sales robot. I think I just one thing I missed on that was, if you have got a wait list or a priority list, would be to make sure you're emailing that priority list before the actual offer goes out to them, priority offer, because we've done it in the past where we haven't, and then they've either forgotten what they signed up for, or it's like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot I was doing that, or I signed up for it. So that for me was a big one, to still have that continual kind of input to them as it's gone on as well.
I think the so with a wait list, I think, did we talk about this just now? I have like specific emails that go out to the wait list, and they're automated. So say if someone joins the wait list at a certain time, you can set up on active campaign, so you can say, is the date this? And if it is the date, they sort of move down the automation. And then on the date, say it's going to open on Friday at, say that the early bird thing is going to open on like Thursday at 2 p.m. You can set an automated email to go out on Thursday at 1 p.m. to say, just to let you know it's going to go out at 2 p.m. Then one at 2 p.m. to say, right, it's open. Do you want to buy? And then you can send one at Thursday p.m. to say, just to let you know, the early bird's open. However, it's going out to everybody in 2 days, at 2 p.m. on Saturday or whatever. Yeah. So you can set all that up to involve the sort of and emphasize the priority that they've got to join.
Yeah, definitely. And also take them off once they buy it, because they might not
yes, yeah. So make sure, if you've got an automation running, you've got and I don't know if you can do some of this, but on active campaign, you can say you can have a yes or no. Does the person have the tag bought program? If yes, end automation. So don't keep sending them things to buy.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, it's not usually that in the world, but it's just annoying, isn't it? You want to almost, that if that's your first experience with working with someone and they're constantly getting, it's not great. So
yeah, exactly. And one thing I found quite good for Build is because we run just monthly intakes now, so it's like the beginning of the month, that's the intake, and we don't do anything for the next 3 weeks or so. We have if someone wants to join, they can join like a week early. So they can express an interest in coming on the next program, and they can actually do the early bird and get access a week early. And that's been working quite well. But that only works if you've got, because Build's an ongoing group program. So it's not like 8 weeks and then nothing else happens. There's a sort of a rolling option there.
Yeah.
So what we do is say for January, what we did is we're starting to finish on the 9th. But if you join, I think we opened it on the 28th of December or something like that. You can join from then and you'll get another week free or included. And that worked quite well for some people who come on, because people after Christmas were like, well, I'm ready to get started now. I don't want to wait till the 9th of January.
Yeah.
That's no problem at all. You can get the early bird and then they got more value for what they're paid for.
Yeah. Good way to do it.
Yeah, we've done that on Target Lean as well in the past, where we've said if you can start a week early. We won't officially start till whatever, but if you can pay and sign up and get access to the group and get access to the workouts, and we'll do your diet, so you've got that sort of jump start before, and that worked really well for the early bird. And obviously they got like a small early bird discount for joining early, so there was a lot of incentive to actually join up early or to do the early bird. And so go on.
No, I'm saying that's a great way of doing it, because you're using all of the things that are there anyway, that are already involved in the service, and that to basically incentivize them to get involved early. And it's extra that they potentially might not know about as well. So if you've got things that you can do that are like surprises, it's quite a cool way.
Yeah, and also a lot of people talk about early birds and they're just talking about the price. If you sign up early, you get £50 off. Someone who's going to pay 250 quid and pay £200 with a discount, they'll probably still pay 250 quid. So the price, the discount, the early bird discount may incentivize people to sign up early. But actually, if you've got that, they might still have in their mind, I'm still not sure, they'll still need a bit more reassurance. But if you have you can sign up early and you'll get access to coaching early, and you get this early, and you'll get this and this and this, plus we'll throw in whatever, all these things you can enhance the early bird offer with. It then doesn't become a commoditized, it's £50 off, and that hasn't then devalued your product to it's £200, not £250. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm more of a fan now of like, what else can you incentivize people to sign up with? That's, yes, okay, if you do a discount on the price point, but then what else can be put in there? And even things like once they've signed up that they don't know that they're going to get involved, and then you send it out to them, or they get it as access, like as part of it, which I think that does more for the retention, or even like the buy-in at the start as well.
Yeah, so there's that concept that say for example, when anyone signs up to Build, I always send them a copy of my book. And the book's like 13 quid or whatever on Amazon, so it's not a massive thing, but they weren't expecting it. They weren't expecting to get the book through the post.
Yeah.
And I know you do the same with your hoodies and stuff, don't you? Send them like a welcome pack, which they might not be expecting, and that's a nice reinforcement of, that's nice, I wasn't expecting it. Yeah. However, if you say to people when you sign up you're going to get a book, when they get the book, they're like, yeah, I was expecting that. So it's not a gift. It's not anything exciting.
Yeah. It's something I've always sent stuff out to clients ever since we started. And then when we could do more of it, we kind of invested more into different products and things. And I'm a big fan of that, even though it might cost us however much those boxes. The hoodies are probably the most expensive, but the thing is that it's a quality product I know people will wear. I want them to wear it. I don't want them to just get a hoodie and go, that's shit. Look at the material.
Yeah.
But that was part of my in part of this process. So you've got like the seed-in, pre-launch, open cart, the actual like sign-up process, and then there was like a follow-up process but part of that was to mention this, to say like, okay, is there anything you send out to them? Is there bonuses they get access to, or like bonus materials, things like that you can include, and also following up with people to find out potentially why they didn't buy. So if they've got people on the wait list who didn't sign up, and then just getting some feedback, because that's important.
Yeah, we've got I should say I've got on my pre-launch sequence says, obviously if they don't buy, the automation continues. and it says that it sends them an email saying, oh, you hadn't purchased, just interested to know why. Is there something I could have done more? Did you need more about the product? What could I do to improve on next time? And I've been quite surprised at the people who've actually responded, because I think people sometimes like to help people out, don't they? It's like a lot of people are like, oh, it just wasn't the right time for me, or it was the price was too high or whatever else. Some things you can't really do anything about. I'm not going to lower my prices, and I'm not going to it's the right, you can't do anything about the times. Time's the time, isn't it? But if someone says, oh, I didn't really know about the program, I didn't really know what you're selling, right? Yeah. Well, that's something I really have to sort out then, isn't it?
Yeah, we had that direct feedback. I didn't really know what it was. I was like,
yeah,
I thought we'd done a good job at that, but obviously not, so we need to go back and revisit it.
Yeah. And I've had other people as well say, it was too much money, and I've replied back saying, oh, did you know you could pay in installments? No.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's my fault, because they would have signed up if they knew about they could pay in installments. That's my fault for not telling them that. So now I always mention all those things, because an important point here is that you know about your product, but you've got to approach it when you're looking at it. The person knows nothing about what you're selling, who you are, what the result they're going to get. It's got to be the UGG test, hasn't it? It's like when you look at something, it's like if a prehistoric man was looking at it, UGG, that's a fat loss program. It's like UGG, you can pay in installments. It's got to be so obvious. Do you know what I mean?
Right, my head goes, what, the shoe, like the UGG boot?
UGG boots, yeah. If they wear UGG boots, yeah, that's the UGG test. You can put that in your welcome.
Oh, I got really confused then. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, the UGG test. It's is it so clear that even someone who had limited intelligence would understand exactly what it is within three or 4 seconds. And if it isn't there, that's what you need to work on.
Good.
It's like when people sometimes say, oh, when you think about me, what's the first thing you think about? Now, sorry?
UGG boots.
UGG boots, yeah. And if you ask someone that and they say, actually I don't know, or oh, you're a fat loss coach, and like when actually you don't consider yourself a fat loss coach, you've got to make sure that what you're portraying through your social media and what you're selling is when people think about you, what's the first thing they think about? And for a long time, people were like, you're a bodybuilder, you're a gym owner. So, do you know how to do coaching? No. Right, you've got to sort that out then.
Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Right, that's a big struggle, I think, making it really clear what it is you actually do. I think that comes through back to the stuff we talked about in previous episodes, content and how that's effective, but also making sure that it's obvious to people, because I've definitely had this experience. I know coaches who I've worked with as well. People have responded to stuff and gone, "Oh, are you full at the moment? Can I? Is there any chance I can work with you?" And then I've never said that, but they get the impression that they're full because they never talk about it. So just that's a bit of a tangent, but just brought it up in my head.
Yeah, I mean, you got to presume that people know nothing about you, and then that way we always be super clear on what you're saying.
That's it.
We've actually come on to 12 o'clock, mate. So and we've only just got to sort of the launch system. So maybe we should continue this on the next episode about delivery and follow up afterwards.
Yeah, double version, double episode.
Yeah, because the pre-launch is really important. You've got to get people in, but also if you're not delivering a really good product and you're not following up afterwards, how are you going to get more people to come into your product, into your system?
Yeah, good point.
So let's call it a day there for pre-launch seeding and making people awareness, and the next episode we'll pick up on delivery and follower, or I sometimes call it graduation. So when they've finished, what's the next steps for them? Do they go into one-to-one? Do they go into do they go somewhere?
Yeah. Cool.
we can talk about that if you want on the next one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Okay, that'll hopefully give this into manageable chunks for anybody listening, and also it gives them another 45 minutes or so on the next episode if they've got a long drive or whatever.
A reason to come back.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like a cliffhanger. What's going to happen in the next episode? Is Dan going to grow his moustache to an excitable length?
It might not even be here. It might be gone. Will it be here?
Yeah. Find out on the next episode. Moustache tales. Just quickly, Dan, I know we both got to go for meetings. Where can people find you and contact you?
Just Dan Strong Collective and strongcollective.co.uk.
Cool. Buildcoaching.co.uk will be live next week. So if people want to come there, although I can't promise the content will actually be edited properly, so I'm still working on that. And Instagram, Tom Build Coaching or Tom Blackman _nutrition. And I think we're both on YouTube as well, aren't we? Yeah, you're Dan Strong Collective.
Yeah, same.
And Tom Blackman for me. Okay. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for everybody watching or listening. And we'll see you on the next episode for more discussions on group coaching.